Being a parent is a challenging job in and of itself, but being a parent of a child on the autism spectrum presents with a whole additional set of challenges most parents feel ill-equipped to handle. Hi, I'm Tracy Pappas, and not only am I a licensed clinical social worker who helps clients struggling with things such as anxiety, grief, and depression, but I am also the mother of a nonverbal 10-year-old son with autism. And in the 7+ years since my son's been diagnosed, I have come to realize that there are plenty of resources on autism awareness and what signs to look for in your child. And there are plenty of resources that discuss what interventions work best, such as ABA therapy and occupational therapy and speech. But there is very little that discuss the mental health of the parent. How do we as autism parents cope? How do we take better self-care? It's questions like these that led me to create this channel, Autism Parent Support with Tracy. So some background on me. I originally went into social work school because I wanted to be a grief counselor. My mom had passed 6 days shy of my 21st birthday, and I wanted to learn not only how to better cope for myself, but also how to help others struggling with loss. And for my first year in social work school, I had an internship at a Jewish community center on Long Island. And my field supervisor there was this 80-year-old little woman who had been doing social work since the age of 20. And Eve was my hero. She got the Lifetime Achievement Award from the National Association of Social Workers and had more empathy and wisdom than perhaps anyone I've ever met. And so one of my assignments at this internship was working with special needs kids in an after-school program. And I'll never forget what she explained to me one day when I was sitting in her office. She said, "Tracy, grief isn't just about loss of a loved one. Grief could be about many things. It could be about the end of a marriage and a divorce. It could be about someone moving far away. It could be about losing a job and a home foreclosure. And it could be about having a special needs child and grieving the loss of certain hopes and aspirations that you had for that child." Now, Eve had no way of knowing back then how deeply her words would resonate with me some 15, 20 years down the road. But for this first episode, I want to discuss autism and parental grief. And many of you are familiar with the 5 stages of grief. You have denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And ultimately the goal is to get to a place of acceptance. But another thing that Eve explained to me during that time with her was that we autism parents often have a little bit harder of a time getting to a place of acceptance because our children are born looking quote unquote normal. You know, when a child is born with Down syndrome or with some other physical disability, you can see it with your naked eye. It's you know, sometimes you can even see it on the ultrasound. They can find it in prenatal testing. You can prepare. But when our children are born, you don't realize that something's not right until months down the road. And sometimes I think it's just easier for us to accept when we can see something. I remember I was just talking with my friend Sam about this the other day, and she has a son also on the spectrum, and she said, "Trey, when Colin was born, I feel like I was duped. I felt tricked." And why am I saying all this? Because I believe that proper self-care for us parents begins with first acknowledging the grief we have surrounding our child's diagnosis. I think that in order to properly heal and come to a place of peace, we must first allow ourselves to feel the stages without self-judgment and allow ourselves grace to, you know what, some days we're going to be sad. Some days we're going to be, angry about something. And it's important to remember also that these stages are not fixed. They're not linear and they're not fixed. So you can kind of like jump all over the place depending on, what's going on in that day for you. I remember specifically going through the denial phase when the time the first pediatrician mentioned, and the anger phase, the first pediatrician that ever mentioned that my son might have autism. And I thought, who does she think she is? There is nothing wrong with my child. And I was mad and no way. I never even went back to that pediatrician after that. And then I can also clearly remember the bargaining phase where it's like, God, universe, if as long as my kid is verbal, I'll be okay. Or as long as my kid can be potty trained, or whatever the case is, whatever. And then I can also remember feeling, many times like depressed, where it's like, okay, I feel isolated, I feel alone, nobody understands what I'm going through. What I will say is that one of the best things I ever did was seek out my friend Sam. We had mutual friends, and I knew she had a child on the spectrum, and I contacted her, and it was so refreshing to have someone that understood the struggles that I was going through. Because let's be honest, we deal with a whole different set of issues than parents of neurotypical kids, that they might not even think of or fathom. Like, I can't just get some teenage girl down the block to babysit my kid. I need somebody that's versed in autism, that's going to know how to handle him, that's going to know what to do if he has a meltdown. Play dates. I don't know. Is my kid going to go off and bite some other kid? As far as restaurants, a lot of our kiddos are very, very picky eaters. They only eat certain things, and are they going to have a meltdown in the restaurant? And then another thing is like, what if my kid's nonverbal? What if my kid gets lost? He's not going to respond to his name. No one's going to ever be able to, figure out who he belongs to. It's things like that it's just nice to have someone there to talk with and to cry to, and vice versa. So one of my suggestions is that if you don't already know other parents of children on the spectrum, that you would either join a support group or find out, seek them out, so that you have that and you no longer feel isolated. And it's good too just to have that for even just cheering us on, for our little successes. Just having them there in your corner, it's nice to have. So I just want to encourage you and promise you all you autism parents out there, you will get through this. I promise you. And if there is any specific topics that you want to discuss in the future, you can comment and I can touch on those. And if you found this at all helpful, I would appreciate if you just left a comment, and just allow yourself some grace and some time, and give yourself allow yourself some compassion that you would give to any friend that you had that you care about. Allow that, do some self-compassion for your, And so I will post another video in probably a week, and again, I just want you all to know you are seen, you are heard, and you are not alone. Thank you.